Hi everyone, welcome to 2026 and welcome to January 2026. This is a complex month, so there's a lot to cover here and I'm gonna try and not make this video too long, but I wanna cover everything because it is an interesting month to get started. It's going to be a year, so some numerological systems don't include 10. The system that I've been trained in and use, we do include 10. So for the first part of this year until September 22nd, we will be under the 10 umbrella, which I'm gonna explain in a second. So I will be including 10/1 and I will explain what the difference is. So if you're hearing other numerological cycles talking about the one only, that's why. And you just do what resonates with you. This particular numerological system includes the 10, which means, so we just came out of a global 9 cycle. And that 9 cycle, this 10 and 1 energy is going to feel very different from last year's energy. And interestingly, last year, everybody was in their challenge cycle. So even if you didn't have a lot of major things happening in your life, there was probably some type of inner intensity or some type of just kind of mastery of lessons or healing that was really coming up. Even if nobody outside of you kind of knew what was going on, there was probably a lot of internal releasing, letting go, completion of things, mastery of things, refinement of things, being called to kind of keep stepping up or being called to kind of release so you can step up and show up, which is what we're really going to start to see now coming into 2026. So it will feel very different. It was overall a very emotional, very more kind of heavier energy because of that completion. And we were in the year of the snake. We are still going to be in under that umbrella of the snake, moving into the horse energy February 17th. So keep that in mind also for the first part of kicking in. It doesn't just, some things don't just start right away January 1st. And so, but the energy will feel, could feel actually very different. Even since solstice, you might have started, even solstice kicked in a lot of healing still potentially and wrap up of your personal cycle. So it still could have felt really intense, but it could also have started to feel, or is starting to feel just even a couple days before the actual new year, starting to feel just very different, kind of new winds coming in, new energies coming in, new insights, new inspiration, or just new understanding and new awakening. So that's exciting, and it will feel very refreshing to have a very new cycle coming in and kind of a new trajectory, new trajectories, and new pathways opening up for us. So let me explain a little bit about the 10 and how that relates to the completion of the 9 cycle we're just coming out of. So the 10 cycle from this numerological system will be under until September 22nd at 6 p.m. Then humanity will start officially a whole brand new cycle. Now we're still going to be in this blend of old cycle and new cycle, which means that this old cycle, we're still, so the 10, let me backtrack. So let me explain what the 10 means in relation to 1. 1 represents new beginnings. This is the time to really plant seeds. It's the time for really initiation of new things. We'll have new ideas, new platforms coming through, just a lot of newness. So from that period of January 1st to September 22nd, we are still going to see potentially a lot of deconstruction happening. We're still in that phase collectively. And so that's where it's going to be interesting. We're going to have a lot of kind of cross currents. We're going to have new platforms coming through, new grassroots movements coming through. We're going to have new ideas coming through. We're going to have the beginning of new things. We're going to have ideas of new things coming in. But we might not fully see that really landing and rooting officially at the collective level until potentially the fall. So I like to think of the 10 energy from January 1st to September 22nd, kind of like spring, but the ground is still frozen if you live in the Northern Hemisphere. So that means you're starting to feel excitement. You're starting to feel the energy of new birth. You're starting to feel like the increase of energy. Like think of the energy of spring. It's so prolific. It's so energized. It's just so like there's so much volume to it and intensity to it. And just this, palpating, just a like feeling of life. Just life wants to just burst. It's passionate. It's just, it's intense in that way. It can be very stormy too. It can be a lot of storms, fierce storms. So the 10 energy is kind of like that, but we're gathering the seeds. We're starting to get new ideas of, who do we want to be? How do we want to rise? We might just start seeing that we're really starting to rise automatically. Yet collectively, we might still feel like I'm still not able to land it fully in the way that I want to, or we may not be seeing that in the collective stage. So think of like the fall after September 22nd is when the ground is thawed and now we can start to plant those seeds that we've been kind of getting ideas of up until that point of what we really want to do. Now remember, you're going to have your own personal cycle through this year as well. So if you want to find out your own personal cycle, take the year 2026 and add your birthday. So I'm 18. I'm born on the 18th, so I'm going to add 18, and then I'm going to add the month. So I'm July, so I'm going to add 7. So each month, January is 1, February is 2, etc. Okay, so you're going to add 2026, add the day you were born. So if you were born on the 1st, it would be 1. If you were born on the 5th, it would be 5. For me, it's 18, so I would add 18, and then the month you were born, and then add that up, and then reduce it, So if you're, say you come to a 15, then you're going to add 1 plus 5 is 6, and that's what we call reducing. You're bringing it to the primary number, and then so you would be in a cycle 6. So keep that in mind. If you're in a 10, if you come to a 10, then again, you would fall under this category we're talking about 10-1, which means you're in final lapse of a 10-year cycle. You're going to be starting a whole brand new 10-year cycle September 22nd at 6 p.m. If you come to 11, we don't reduce 11 in this system, so you would be in 11/2 cycle. Okay, I hope that's not confusing. But if you just want to know, because when I cover this, we're covering the month. We're covering the month, yes, we're covering the month. We're covering the global cycle, and that impacts us. So think of the global cycle as like it's impacting us because of that microcosm macrocosm effect. So it's kind of like the outer weather climate. We're seeing what's playing out on the world stage absolutely affects us, but then we will have our own personal cycle, which may be different than that collective cycle. And that's really how what we're really gonna see in our own personal lives, what our soul themes are for us personally. And so whatever our personal cycle is, you want to include that absolutely. And then you're looking at how is the global stage cycle influencing and impacting me in my personal cycle. So they're going to be connected. Okay, so the 10 energy is really about stepping into our courage and stepping into our confidence and stepping into our radiance. This is a year where the soul is really starting to come through, rise and shine brightly. So it's kind of like the analogy is not my will, but thy will. And that's really moving forward in the new consciousness. And I love that January starts off personally. So we're in the 10-1 cycle globally for the year, but January itself represents 11-2. So we're going to cover 4 numbers this month. That's why it's a little bit complex. So we're covering the 10, which is asking us to really step into our radiance, to claim our radiance and have the courage. So we're still, really looking at like, who do I really want to be? How do I really want to shine out in the world? The soul's starting to come through more. So we want to have the courage to allow that. We want to have the courage to have the humility. 10 is humility. Have the humility to be able to bow to our soul. And humility doesn't mean that we don't know our worth. And that's, that's a slippery slope. If we're not claiming our worth, we're denying our divine presence within. And we all can be continuously, potentially growing in our level of worthiness or self-worth. And so we can have, self-worth or worthiness in some areas of our life, but there might be other areas we're still healing around or we're still growing or evolving in. So that would be the question really starting to platform this month. Is where can I start to have the humility to let my soul shine through more, which means, is this my personality's desire or is this my soul's desire? Am I doing something out of should, duty, obligation, or am I doing something because this is what my soul really is guiding me to? This is what resonates with me. This is what feels really in alignment and right for me, even if it's scary, even if it's, I don't know what's next, I don't know what is down the road for me. So it's still maybe in that uncertainty, but being able to trust. And I love that we have the combination of the 2 because the 2 is asking that. It's asking us to trust ourselves, to trust our inner guidance, to trust the universe has a plan for us and to trust the timing of that. That's not easy, right? That's not easy when we don't know what's next or we're doing all the things and then it might feel like still nothing's happening. So that's really where we're being asked, can we trust ourselves? Can we trust our resonance? Can we trust that there's a bigger plan unfolding? Can we trust that there is a divine timing and a divine order? And there's such a complicated, comprehensive choreography playing out. So can we just kind of slow down and trust that and allow? So the 2 is going to ask us to just come into that yin energy, excuse me, slowing down and allowing not forcing and not pushing. So if we find we're forcing, find we're pushing, or find we're impatient, that's indication for us that we want to just kind of like maybe take some time to just go within and really tune into our inner heart's guidance. 2, also a great way to work with 2 is rhythm. So this could be just coming into rhythm with the cycles of life or the cycles of Mama Earth. This could be dancing. So it can be just coming into some rhythm, and that rhythm can bring us inward. So again, following the cycles of Mama Earth or the cycles of the moon, for example, or cycles of the season, that really helps us to just, again, find that rhythm. And when we're in that rhythm and we can draw inward, that's when we can really start to hear our inner guidance and our inner resonance more, and be able to trust it. And it's, 2 is asking us we want to connect. 2 is connection, and it's trust. So, and it's unity consciousness. We're coming into one consciousness, unity consciousness. And so this is a month that's really going to kick that up. And so when we want to connect deeper to source, we want to connect first deeper to ourselves. So that could be taking care of ourselves differently. It could be just tuning into ourselves more, because we're really starting to cultivate that divine presence within us. So that's that bow to our soul within, which is the divine presence. And then back to the 10 is saying, we are this radiant divine presence. That is our gift, our birthright. It's who we are. And we're having this human experience in this vehicle with the physical body and the personality. And so how can we come back to claiming and embodying this powerful radiance that is our light within? And I love this because it's 11, and 11 is shining our light. It's illuminating. So on the world stage, we might see a lot more being illuminated, massive awakening still playing out, and going to be happening even more probably this month, even kicking up more things that are being revealed, more things being seen. But the 11 is asking us, where can we shine our light? So the 10 saying, have the courage and the confidence this year to shine your light. This month, the 11 saying, where do we need to shift consciousness potentially to come into more of our authenticity, aligning to what really feels good? We're releasing any performance. So 2025 was all about, again, releasing what was no longer serving, but also releasing where have we been encrusted? Where have we been operating through conditioning, through programming, through things like that? And so this month is going to really kind of reveal to us, or ask us to ask ourselves, where can I still maybe let go of that? Because that's the 10. The 10 saying we're preparing for this new beginning, and we're going to have new beginnings, but it's going to potentially happen as a process through this year. So the 10 is saying we want new beginnings. We want to start to shine and rise authentically. We want to start to really be able to feel, kind of free and safe to express our truth, whatever that means for us individually and personally. And so what courage and what confidence do we need to kind of bring up so that we can release, let go, so that we can then come into that alignment? So this month, the question may be to ask, where am I, or how can I shift consciousness? And that's a great question to even ask Spirit. You show me gently and lovingly any consciousness around a certain situation or relationship. What consciousness do I need to see so that I can start to change about it, change in it, change or transcend it or transform it, or so that I can come and alchemize into more love or into more compassion? I love the 2 with this too, because the 2 is about love. It's about harmony. So where am I creating conflict? Where can I come back into harmony? So coming back into, just kind of slowing down, it's not necessarily going to be kind of like a retrograde energy. Like we're starting, thankfully, to really come out of that retrograde, which we were in a lot last year, especially the end of 2025. So it's not like that kind of energy. It's going to be about kind of both, walking both worlds. How can I now start to shine and show up in the world differently? And you just might find that your soul is starting to just kind of like do it anyway. Like you might be surprised even what starts to come out in you, or just the inspiration you might have, or the opportunities that might start to present, again, depending on your personal cycle. So the 2 is saying though, okay, so let's be mindful about it. Let's be not forcing, let's just really tune in. Is this resonating? What is important to me? What are my values? But truly, what is resonating with me so that I can navigate through? So it's going to be this, delicate balance between developing a really strong connection within, spiritual practice within, so we can feel and maintain that connection while we start to navigate through this continuing, ever-changing, tumultuous world. But this is really where it's starting to get exciting, because this is where we're really starting to going to be able to land these new grassroots movements, or just starting to, recreate, rebirth. We've been going through a lot of deconstruction, and now we're going to start to be able to really start to create new change, really start to create new change by keeping our frequency up, by keeping our vibration up, by keeping the bigger vision, and by staying focused on what is possible and what is already good and flowing, and the people or the experiences that we're already seeing, including maybe something we're doing ourselves. And that can be inner. Remember, it doesn't have to be a really big thing. On the outer, it's always first and foremost most important, which the two will help this month, is developing that inner connection. And when we develop that inner connection and inner stability and steadiness, then that, amplifies and waves out into the greater collective. So, okay, so we have the 11-2 for the personal of January. Remember your personal, if you follow, some people follow the numerological cycle from their birthday to birthday, which we call the solar return. You can do it that way too. If you follow from the numerological cycle, which this is following, you can go from January 1st to December 31st. Again, whatever resonates with you. But if your personal cycle is changing, we're changing the global. We're going to be in the 10 and the 1 cycle. The 1 cycle, by the way, represents, it creates change, but long term. So the seeds that we plant this year, they potentially can happen right away. You might start to feel, again, just a really fabulous new kind of energy and breeze coming in of newness. And saying that, you might not. Sometimes it's very slow, but know that whatever we plant, whatever seeds we're planting here, and that could be, kind of metaphorically, symbolically, or realistically, like whatever we're really planting is going to have a potential long-term effect. So the invitation for us is, again, really starting to honor what are we really being guided to do, and having the courage to, to show up and honor that. And then we have the 2, and then we have the 11. So I just want to make sure I'm covering everything, because there's a lot this month. And, the invitation for us is, this is new. We're going to feel a different 2025, 2026 are still under that umbrella of, kind of like the bigger changes in the paradigm shift. And then, but this is the final kind of from 2020 to 2026, leading into 2027 was always going to be that arc of the most tumultuous years, because of so many stages of deconstruction, awakening that we had to go through, and shedding that we had to go through. So this is going to, again, we're still going to see a lot playing out on the world stage. So again, depending on your own personal narrative, your own personal, alignment, frequency, what you're giving energy to, where you're at in your own soul's growth, will play out very differently for each of us because of that. But saying that, this is going to be a year where we finally are going to come to some completion of what we've been experiencing. Honestly, probably since for a very, very long time, like decades, but especially since 2020. All right, so wishing you a very, very sacred, beautiful month, and invitation is just, remembering who we are, remembering we are powerful, sovereign beings of light, love, and compassion, and we are coming into one consciousness. The 2 is really kicking that up. That doesn't mean we're all going to be the same. It doesn't mean we all have to have the same beliefs or the same ideals. It means we're starting to really tap in, opening that crown chakra, and starting to really understand that there is a divine intelligence that works through everything in the universe, and that's what unifies us. That's what keeps us connected. And what I do affects you, what you do affects me. That's the whole, connectivity and that web of connection that we're all a part of. And when we start to really awaken to that, then we can start to really become aware and honor, and have reverence for all of life and all beings, because we know that all beings, all life, has that intelligence, that divine spark running through it. So moving forward as a collective, we are going to start to become more aware and awake to that. And we're going to not do it because